Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a sloppy sports and entertainment talk show that covers the New York Giants football, Mets baseball, movie reviews, TV show recaps and reactions, along with some funny stories and life lessons along the way. It's hosted by a Giant Mess. That's me, the Real Cinch Neal Lynch. I'm a former college quarterback and pitcher and current overthinker. You can leave a voicemail at 862-BIT-1986. That's 862-248-1986. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the New York Metros, recap the series against the Rays and the Guardians, and look ahead to the Cubs, Rockies, and Phillies. We turned it around, y'all, and I don't want to take all the credit in the reversal of Juju and the mojo, but I will accept donations. If you feel the need in bringing back the positivity and bringing back our winning ways, you're welcome. And then we'll talk about the New York Football Giants. What's going on with the Saquon Barkley contract? Where do we stand with things? We're going to recap the history, and then we'll look at where do we go from here? How do we get this done? And then how does that factor into the salary cap? What kind of breathing room can Joe Schoen and the New York Giants front office create? What kind of moves can they make in order to create some more space? Because we're kind of living on the edge. Shout out Aerosmith. Weird video with Steven Tyler just holding his junk, which is not exactly winning any awards, I don't think. So yeah, there's some moves there to create some space and moves that probably have to happen in order to create some space for us to live and let die and survive throughout the 2023 NFL season. By the way, 2024, yikes. I hate to be working in the accounting department for the Giants in 2024. And then we'll look at the over-under win totals and the bets that you should take for all the Giants' 2023 opponents. Thought that would be a fun little exercise, and we'll see the reasoning for why teams will win more or less than the totals given out by Las Vegas. So without further ado, let us get it started up in here. As I mentioned in the intro, New York Mets have turned things around, and it couldn't have come at a better time. Things were looking bleak. You know, last time we recorded, the last episode, I was recording during the 8-5 loss to the Rays. Justin Verlander looked bad. He gave up a 3-run homer, a 2-run homer, 6 earned runs all told, and not the kind of outing that we're hoping for. And I think a lot of people after that loss thought, okay, well, we can just basically chalk this up as another sweep. And you know what? Considering our history, our previous series, the fact that we lost 7 of the 8 series leading up to this series. I just said series in a series of series. Considering our records against subpar teams, we got no shot against the best team in baseball. Literally the best team in baseball. I don't know if people realize that. I mean, they put up a graphic, and I don't know if I mentioned this last episode, but like every single friggin' dude in that lineup was OPS over 800. What? How? I don't understand. I don't think we have anyone above 800 OPS. I think Nimmo is the closest at 791. So after that loss, it's like, all right, well, let's just grin and bear it. You know, let's take our lumps and move on. But did we do that? No, we decided to let the kids play. And my God, did they come through big time. Kodai Senga, not exactly a kid. New to the area, but not exactly a newbie. Solid start. 6 innings pitched. One of the few pitchers that we got in the rotation that can give us 6 quality innings. Give up 1 run, 12 Ks. I know walks have been an issue with him. I don't think he had a ton of walks in this game. We were down 5-2, thanks bullpen, heading into the 9th. And one of the kids, Francisco Alvarez, comes up big with a 3-run dong to tie the game. We then go down 7-5 in the 10th frame. And I think the booth specifically was counting us out. Like, oh, the second run is huge. I think Keith was mentioning it. That second run is huge. Second run is huge. First run you can live with. Second run is huge. Nimmo and McNeil get on, and Peter, Big Meat Pete, Polar Bear Alonso hits a game-winning 3-run bomb, and then he drops an F-bomb in the post-game interview. Now, the booth handled it with aplomb, I believe that the word is. I believe it was Keith and Gary, and they were just like, well, we're going to downplay it. We're not going to really call it out too much, and I think that was good, because it's like, hey, dude, this guy's running on all kinds of adrenaline right now. I feel like he brings an amazing amount of energy, and we all know that he's behind the LFGM movement. And if you ever had any question about what that F meant, he pretty much dispelled the rumors and cleared everything up for everyone. And I know Buck wasn't a big fan. I think he came out and said he wasn't a big fan to Michael K. Honestly, I understand the argument that like kids are watching, but like this is the 10th inning of a Wednesday night game. I think the time was, it's past the kids' bedtime. And, I think it's, parents sometimes hate having as a parent. I think I can speak for all parents, right? I think parents hate to be put in that position of having to explain, like, what does that word mean, or why did that person say that? I think it's a simple sentence or less answer. It's just like, oh, you really shouldn't say that. And Pete shouldn't have said that, but he was very emotional and fired up and excited. And sometimes people say things that they probably shouldn't when they get excited. Boom, done. I just friggin' nailed it. Not a big deal. I think most adults that aren't Mormon or whatever religion that has banned profanity, it's just like, we get it, man. And I think a large portion of the fan base is probably excited that he did that, because it's like, that to me feels like the turning of the tide. After that F-bomb, we got kind of hot. Adam Ottavino and David Robertson, less than impressive, and I think that's to be expected. Given the amount of work that they've had to put in. I think Ottavino leads the bullpen in appearances, and although Robertson hasn't gotten a ton of save chances of late, I think it's understandable. Unfortunate but understandable. And so we take that huge momentous extra innings win, something that we saw a lot last year, and we have not really seen any of this year. And we took it into Thursday's contest, and Tyler McGill gave us 6 quality innings pitched. Again, that's the bugaboo, right? That 6-inning benchmark is where we want to get to with our starting rotation. And McGill got us there. 6 innings pitched against a very good Rays lineup. Only 4 strikeouts, but only 2 earned runs. Then we got Brooks Raley, Jeff Brigham, and David Robertson holding down the fort, but they did get a lot of help in the field. Some great defense from McNeil and Alonso to help seal the win. McNeil was 2 for 4 with a run. Tommy Pham looking like he might be coming out of the slump that he was in, going 2 for 4. And Escobar, not so much. Left 4 on base. Eduardo, come on, bro. We took 2 of 3 from the best team in baseball. If that doesn't get your frown upside down, I don't know what to tell you. I think we'll look into trying to remove the stick from your butt, but no promises. So we take that good juju, the good mojo, our good winning ways, the positive energy into the series against the Guardians. This is in Cleveland, I believe.
Okay, I found this on the web for the series against the Guardians. This is in Cleveland, I believe. Check it out.
I will not check it out, fucking Siri. 10-9 extra innings win. We went so long the whole season without these great comebacks, and then we're getting spoiled in a matter of mere 48 hours, days between extra inning wins and comeback wins. Reminding us more of what we had in last year in 2022. And it's in large part to the kids. Let the kids play. We were down 5-0 entering the 5th. Carlos Carrasco, Cookie, got knocked around, 5 innings, 5 runs. Dominic Leone not so great. Also giving up 2 runs. Drew Smith faltered in extras, but he ended up getting the W. But you had Francisco Alvarez, ding dong, Brett Brady, yard job. Alonso, grand slam, almost fell rounding the bases. He was so goddamn excited. If you don't love this guy with every fiber of your being, every inch of your soul, I don't know. There are a lot of hobbies out there. Google it. We're down 9-7 in the 10th. Vientos knocks in Beatty again. Vientos. Alvarez beats out an infield hit to knock in Escobar, and then Lindor knocks in Alvarez. Game over. I do wonder where the hell this club would be without these friggin' prospects. Without Alvarez, without Beatty, without Vientos, without these guys. Is our normal lineup stepping up to the plate and helping and bringing that kind of energy? It's huge. I mean, and I should know because I am like Mr. Bad Vibes. I walk into a room and a part of them dies inside. Okay. I have a very bad aura. I walk into work and it's like, I had a woman ask me if I was there to murder her. True story. So I know the importance of energy, good energy. And I think these young guys are bringing it. By the way, calling them the baby Mets and the babies and the baby Mets, I'm not on board with that at all. 100% out on that. I think that's so dumb. And let the kids play was one thing. It's got a nice little baseball feel to it. We got just the kids playing ball, blah, blah, blah. Let the kids play. I was a little hesitant to get on board with that, but I'm all about let the kids play. Baby Mets is horrific and needs to be stopped ASAP. These are not babies. These are grown-ass men. Treat them as such. That is the last and only time I'll be saying baby Mets. I'm going to call them the kids because it makes more sense. That ain't babies. Get the fudge out of here, dude. So the Saturday games rained out. Gary Sanchez stinks, and I have no idea why he's getting this much playing time. What the hell did Michael Perez do to cause Buck to start Gary Sanchez and give him like so much time on the field? I don't get it. Game 1, Max Scherzer gives us 6 innings. You might be noticing a little bit of a trend here. Kodai Senga 6 innings W. Tyler McGill 6 innings W. Max Scherzer 6 innings W. It means so much for this team to get 6 innings where we're within striking distance or ahead. I think they mentioned on tonight's broadcast in game one of the series against the Cubs, but we're just playing from behind way too much, and it's tough. So to be able to get ahead or at least be tied heading into the 5th, 6th, 7th inning is so important for us. We were up 3-0 in game 1 on Sunday, thanks to Max's effort, and then Ottavino implodes in the 8th. I honestly think people underestimate the toll that a newborn can take on a parent, especially if it's your first. If it's your first, I don't know if this is Ottavino's first, but I just think it takes a toll. And it can't be understated. And so I know that he's been kind of uneven and inconsistent of late. And I'm going to blame paternity. Jose Ramirez is a problem. He was a problem for us all series. It felt like every time he got up, he was going to go yard. And sure enough, he did again. And then Starling Marte, a guy who I thought there were some really poor at-bats of recent memory where he's just waving at the ball. I mentioned it last episode, but then he comes through with a 2-run home run in the bottom at 8th to put us ahead. And then Robertson, not exactly shut down, but he was able to get the save. Nimmo with 4 left on base, which is kind of uncharacteristic for him. And then Sanchez and Escobar also stranded 3 apiece. If it's not clear to most people out there, it's like, and I think the booth mentioned this, Escobar seems to me like he is probably his role on this team is as pinch hitter. And I know that they had him starting tonight against the lefty and Smiley. But I don't even know if that's tenable. And he did tweak his ankle early in the game, but he stayed in. And I mean, good clubhouse guy. I just don't know that we want to be giving up too many at bats to him versus Beatty and Sanchez. I cannot explain. So let me move on to game 2, and this is what we're talking about. Game 1, Scherzer. Game 2, Verlander. The Scherzer Verlander 1-2 punch, which we haven't seen in a doubleheader since their Detroit days, which I think Gelbsy ended up talking to Mad Max about, the last time that happened when they weren't family men, quote unquote. They were singles in Detroit, tearing it up. And then they're now both family guys. Giggity. And it was quite the pitcher's duel. This was Sunday Night Baseball. The broadcast team on ESPN stinks, and Justin Verlander made sure to let them know after the game in Francisco Lindor's post-game Q&A. This was a pitcher's duel. Verlander versus Shane Bieber, 2 Cy Young Award winners, and they showed up and showed out. Verlander 8 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run. Jose Ramirez again went deep. I mean, I don't even know how you approach that guy. I mean, it's like whatever. Verlander did have 5 strikeouts, so not appeared to get stronger as the game went on, which is great to see. Typically, when you have an elder statesman like Verlander, they tend to fade and they can't go as long as they used to. There's an endurance concern, but it seemed he was getting actually more velocity on his fastball and had 2 or 3 of his strikeouts towards the latter portion of his outing. Francisco Lindor coming up big against his old team, game-tying home run, and then McNeil with the go-ahead sac fly. McNeil got interviewed during the game, and it was riveting. He talked about golf. Crazy that the crazy part about that interview, one is that they're interviewing during the game, which I don't watch a lot of Sunday Night Baseball. Sue me. I don't give a shit. But 2, that his first love is golf, and he wanted to play golf in college, and he didn't get any offers. So he's like, all right, I guess I'll play baseball. And I guess I'll become, one of the best hitting utility men in the league. I guess that's my plan B. That's my second option, is becoming the batting champion. I guess I'll do that. And I honestly wouldn't rule it out if he decides that after he retires from baseball that he's just going to friggin' dominate golf. I could easily see that happening. Brooks Raley gets the rare save with us having to use, in so many close games, having to use Ottavino and Robertson. And he get the rare save. He made a great play with the glove in that last inning where he picks it up and tosses with the glove to Alonso and then points to the crowd. Love that. And our boy Peter did struggle a bit. 0 for 4 with 3 left on base. He went deep in tonight's game against the Cubs. I think he's hit home runs in 5 of the last 6 games. So there was a rare off night for him. The booth had mentioned that he was been sick lately. And I know Jordan had his flu game, and Alonso must have had his flu games because Keither was mentioning, like, you can see how players play better when they're sick because they're not overthinking and they're not distracted by a bunch of thoughts. It's just like, oh my God, I feel like shit. Just hit the ball. And I buy into it. I can't remember any time that I have played sick. I've played hungover a ton of times, and I've played well hungover. So Monday hit off, and of course, we're now Tuesday, heading into the Cubs, and we'll talk about the Cubs series, Rockies and Phillies coming up on the schedule. But let's take a look at the season stats so far. We're 19th in the league in runs per game, 17th in batting average, 18th in slugging percentage, 18th in hits per game, 14th in home runs, 14th in stolen bases, 24th in ERA. And And that's been the main storyline for this team throughout this season is if you take away Pete Alonso, we're dead last in home runs. We have to be. And I think that's been the issue is like, even with Lindor having a ton of extra base hits and being among the league leaders in RBIs, and Alonso leading the league in home runs, but there's slugging, but yet not much in between. So, definitely room for improvement there. The stolen bases is really nuts to me. I think Marte leads the team with 12 or something like that. And even he's been almost a liability on the base paths lately. He got really awful pickoff. He got picked off twice in one weekend, or it might have been one day, where he looked really bad on the first one, where it was just like not even sliding back, kind of stumbling back. And then the second time, getting picked off a little bit closer, but I don't know. That's kind of a bit concerning there. So you'd like to see more stolen bases, especially from guys like Nimmo and Lindor. And it's been a power outage, other than, I'd say Lindor and Alonso, you're not getting a ton of power. I mean, you weren't expecting to get a ton of power, Neil. I don't know they were expecting a ton of power of Nimmo, but certainly Marte was a concern, and Canna is a concern. And like Canna is not even playing at all. I mean, Pham has started most of the games lately. So I know that Beatty has the potential to go deep a lot. Alvarez, especially. I mean, Alvarez has only played in like less than 3/4 of the games, and I think he's like among the club's leaders in home runs. So yeah, we need to get the bats going, crack some skulls. So where do we stand? What are the standings right now? Entering the Cubs game, first game of the Cubs series, 25-23. We're 4.5 back of the Bravos. We leapfrogged the Marlins and Phillies. We were fourth. We're now second. We're a game ahead of the Marlins. We're 2.5 ahead of the Filthies. And, I mean, if we're playing in the Central, I think we're half a game back. The Dodgers have entered the stratosphere. They've gone into a whole nother level of existence, nirvana, if you will. But our record would put us in third behind the D-backs in the West. So looking ahead at the schedule, we're down 7-2 in the 8th to the Cubs right now. You look at the Cubs schedule, they were 20-26 heading into this series, and they're in third place in the NL Central behind the Brewers, and I want to say the Pirates. They had lost 10 of their last 13 games, and you would think, oh, easy peasy, lemon friggin' squeezy, dude. But we need to take a look at their rankings in the National League, because I don't understand how this team is 20-26. I don't get it. They're 5th in runs per game, 5th in home runs and RBIs, 3rd in stolen bases, 3rd in batting average, 1st in on-base percentage, 5th in slugging, 5th in OPS. And it's like, okay, well then it must be a pitching issue, right? That's kind of the logic there, is like, how are you losing games if you're in the top 5 in pretty much every offensive category? It must be your pitching. Well, I don't think that's the case either. 4th least runs allowed per game, 4th lowest ERA, 2nd fewest home runs allowed, 4th lowest FIP, lowest WHIP, and fewest runners left on base. Weird. Just weird. I mean, I probably need to take a deeper look and get into the granular level of things, but like on paper, if you were to give me those rankings, I would say they're probably winning the NL Central. They probably have a winning record. There's no way they're 6 games below 500 and not contending with those kind of rankings. So I wouldn't be shocked if we lose this series. We had some opportunities in this game to make it close after getting down big, thanks Tyler McGill, who couldn't locate, got behind in counts, and it came back to bite him in the booty. So unfortunate to get that kind of outing from McGill, because it was like we're riding so high after sweeping the Guardians and taking 2 of 3 from the Rays, 5-6. And now it looks like we're going to drop this one unless something crazy happens. But so after the Cubs, we're playing in Chicago. Yet another road game. And you have, I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but the amount of double headers that we've played is a little outrageous. And I think it's taking a toll on the team. I can't remember a season where we've had this many double headers in this short a span to start the season. And I mean, you can say what you will about they do get these rainouts, and that does give them some extra time to heal and lick their wounds or whatever, rest up. Even with the Monday off, that Sunday doubleheader and having it being so closely contested, an away doubleheader, I don't know. I just think having a doubleheader every week and sometimes twice a week, it can't be good for your circadian rhythms. I'll say that. So honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if the Cubs sweep us pretty handedly. And I'm wondering why they're not kind of battling for first place. So I don't know, maybe someone can chime in and let me know. But so after the Cubs, we then travel to Denver, Colorado, Mile High City, to face the Rockies, who I believe swept us last time we faced them in Queens. They're 20-28, so they're 2 games worse than the Cubs, and they're in last place in the NL West. And their rankings pretty much align with that record. Whereas the Cubs, you're like, well, they're top 5 in every freaking category. How are they losing games? The Rockies are bad. Yes, they do lead the National League in doubles. Congratulations. They have the 3rd fewest home runs. They're dead last in stolen bases with 15. I was critical of the Mets for not stealing more bases. That is a fucking travesty that Colorado has only 15 stolen bases. I am sorry, but gee, Jesus Christu, what are we doing in Colorado and Denver? 15 stolen bases, 3rd fewest walks, 7th highest batting average, around the middle, below average on base percentage, and 2nd lowest OPS plus. So, not being selective at the plate, right? Some say the Mets might be a little too selective at the plate, but certainly not getting on base. And you can't score if you don't get on base. So that's their problem with their offense. Their pitching is horrible. You think our pitching stinks? Colorado is right there with us in every pitching category. They're last in runs allowed per game, 2nd worst ERA, 6th most home runs allowed, 3rd worst FIP, just ahead of us, the 2nd worst WHIP, 3rd highest home runs per 9, and the highest walks per 9, 2nd lowest Ks per 9. And listen, I get it. The Rockies have never been known for their pitching, and this is like real bad. So I would have said, like, I think when we initially looked at the Rockies, the last go round at the look ahead of the schedule, was like, all right, well, this is our get right series. And we did not get right. We got very wrong, and it was rock bottom for us. So hopefully things are different. I see several high scoring affairs, but I think the hope here is that our offense has an awakening of sorts, thanks to the kids playing. And we can come out of there with, I would love a sweep, would love it. And I think it has to happen. But then again, you want to talk about the Cubs and where they're at and why are they 20-26? Why are the Phillies 22-25? Well, I think it might be their offense, because you look at their pitching statistics and it's like, this is a pretty, I mean, we'll start with the pitching because it's kind of mind-blowing. 3rd most runs allowed per game. Okay. 4th worst ERA. Okay. 4th fewest home runs allowed. 3rd most strikeouts. 2nd lowest FIP. 3rd lowest home runs per 9. 2nd highest Ks per 9. They're not giving up a lot of home runs. They're striking out a lot of batters. But yet their ERA is 4th worst, and they're giving up a lot of earned runs. So what's happening? Is it just like death by 1,000 cuts? Very interesting to see that kind of with their pitching and their offense. I think that's where they're losing most games, right? They're fourth in triples. Awesome. But they have the fifth fewest RBIs, fourth fewest walks, fifth most strikeouts, the fifth highest batting average, below average on base percentage, and the sixth highest slugging in OPS. So, middling, I guess is the word to use. Inconsistent, all over the place. I don't know. So, my God, wouldn't it be nice to take, was it 2 or 3 from them right after Memorial Day? I think we start either on Memorial Day or right after Memorial Day, our series with them, and we're playing them at home, and that'll be a great way to end the month of May, which has been surely entertaining to say the least. And those are the Metros. I feel good. I feel it's probably the only good thing that I've felt about in my life so far is how I'm very negative about pretty much everything in my life, but I've stayed positive about the Mets. And maybe it was like, okay, as I mentioned, delusional, but it just, you got to figure that we weren't just going to lay down and take this beating and continue to take this beating. Buck was going to do some stuff. Maybe Steve Cohen's like chiming in, being like, hey, just give this a thought. I know you don't like to let the kids play, but let the kids play. So I need to find out what happened with Francisco Alvarez. I don't know what the hell happened. Why is Sanchez getting, I missed something big, and I feel like a fool for not knowing. But like the fact that Alvarez is not playing and Sanchez is like, what are we doing? So, but as pessimistic as I am about the Cubs series, I do think we can make things right and at least start to make the Braves sweat. I want to do to the Braves what the Braves did to us last year. Okay? I want to make them friggin' sweat all goddamn season and then snatch the division from them in the last week. Although I'm still keen on the whole Phillies approach where it's like, let's just hang in third. We'll let these two top teams kind of duke it out, and then we'll just slide in the playoffs and ruin everyone's expectations. So that is for real life, the Metros. Let's talk about the Giants. I got 3 action items, 3 bullet points, 3 talking points. The first of which is the Saquon Barkley debacle, which I don't think is really a debacle. I think more, and you'll notice this from the article that I have read and digested. They had The Athletic had Randy Mueller, the former GM of the Saints and Dolphins, and Joel Corey, who was an agent for top athletes in his 16-year career. They provided insights on how the sides can walk through this high-stakes tightrope in which both parties are satisfied. Let's do a quick recap. Giants offered Barkley a multi-year extension during the team's bye week last November and had an average annual value of $12.5 million, according to a league source. And then the sides weren't really that close coming out of those negotiations, so they were tabled until after the season. That's understandable. No reason to panic. Giants upped their offer to Barkley to $13 million per year. After the season, Barkley declined. And within 6 minutes of hitting the open market, we signed DJ to that big-ass deal that got everyone's panties in a bunch, and we used a franchise tag on Barkley. And that's going to cost us around $10 million for 2023 if he plays. At the NFL owners meeting in March, that was where there were no outstanding offers to Barkley. There have been no details on the structure of the offer, meaning like how much is guaranteed, incentives, bonuses per game, all that good stuff, all the little bells and whistles that make deals so great. In most of the deals that Shane has done, he has guaranteed roughly 50% of the total contract value, right? And Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, and Nick Chubb all received guarantees in that ballpark with their recent extensions. So it doesn't feel that far off. It like as much as people are making this chasm out to be the Grand Canyon. Like, they're never going to come to terms. Look how far away. Like, they're on opposite sides of the goddamn globe. And it's like, I don't know. I don't think it's as bad as everyone's making it out to seem. And I think it's just the off season. And then, like, we need to talk about something. So let's just talk about let's make it as dramatic as fuck, because that'll get clicks and all that nonsense. And it's like, I think he signs. I think he plays. Either way, we could. What's crazy to me is that we could tag him in 2024 again for $12 million. And given how the market has played out, the running backs, a lot of people are saying that Barkley's agent overplayed her hand, and that I don't see the Giants going back. It would be a slap in the face if they go back and say, like, okay, we're going to give you less than what we gave you initially. We're going to offer you less. I don't think that's the way to approach things, but things have changed a little bit with them extending Dexter Lawrence and possibly looking to extend another player who we'll get to in a little bit. But the consensus is that Barkley's leverage is minimal. So it behooves him to get a deal done. And it's like, I think publicly he has stated he wants to play for the Giants long-term. He wants a long-term extension. The Giants have said they want a long-term extension. So we're both on the same page. You know, John Mara, who carries a lot of influence as the owner, says he wants Barkley to be a lifelong Giant. So it's like, everyone's got we're all on the same page. And even though, so that's why it's so weird to say they're not even close. And I guess Shane pulled his offer. I don't know, I think that's more of I guess that's a weird move. It's like posturing. He wants to set a precedent for negotiations in that, like, this feels like we're overextending ourselves a bit to accommodate you. And you're saying we're not even close. Like, that's, okay. I just think a deal gets done. And even if it doesn't, like, what does it make sense? So, like, would Barkley really, like, not play? Just hold out? After all, like, we accomplished last year, turning the tides, the momentum, it's a sea change. Like, you went through all hell to get to this point. And now you want to, like, why would you want to jump ship? So they have until July 17th to agree to a long-term extension, but he can be forced to play on the tag this season, which I don't think he can be forced to play. It's like, I don't think he can play anywhere else, right? But what if he doesn't sign the tag? This is where the tag, like, gets a little, the rules get it. I go cross-eyed trying to think about these rules, but I think if we don't get a deal done, it stinks, but isn't that just extra incentive for Barkley to ball out and then increase his interest in him in the market? I don't know. Personally, I think it's a matter of maybe Shane does budge a little bit more on the guarantee money, because I think that's what matters most. But it really is becoming like this jigsaw puzzle, or the, like, trying to, like, move, like, and we're going to get into it with the salary cap. Mets just lost 7-2. Cool. So this is another article from The Athletic. Giants have breathing room, but they'll need more cap space. Here's how they create it. So we didn't really maximize our cap savings in 2023 with the Dexter Lawrence extension. We have $6.1 million in cap space, and we only need roughly around $2.5 million to account for our draft class, right? So after assigning our draft picks, we'll need to create at least $5 million in cap space just to function through the season. But realistically, we'll have to probably double that, because guys go on injured reserve, need to be replaced, and there'll need to be in-season additions and whatnot. So how do we do that? How do we create this space? We have a few options. I probably should have ordered it from most likely to least likely, or most preferred to least preferred. I didn't. Maybe. First and foremost, the extension that we talked about with Saquon Barkley. If we can get that in place, it could lower his the tag hit, which would be $10 million, and we could lower that to $5 million for a 2023 hit, and then we could gain almost $3 million in cap savings by cutting cornerback Darnay Holmes. And considering all the competition we have and all the young talent we have in the secondary, that seems pretty likely. Again, bittersweet with Darnay Holmes. There are plays where it's like, I absolutely love the dude. And then other plays where I'm just like, oh, dear God. So would he be sorely missed? Whew, it's tough to say. And we'll have to find out. And it might be the cost of finding out. But we could also extend or restructure players with large base salaries. So that's Leonard Williams, cornerback Adoree Jackson. So those are probably leaning more towards restructures. And then we could extend left tackle Andrew Thomas. There is reportedly less urgency since Thomas is signed through 2024 on the 5th-year option, but it could provide immediate cap benefits since an extension could reduce his $10.3 million cap hit in 2023. However, Houston's Laramie Tunsil reset the left tackle market with a 3-year, $75 million extension in March. So that's something that we gotta. It's like it really is a year by year thing. Juggling chainsaws. It's like, well, we can probably do this, and this to get under the 2023 cap, but then we're gonna have to do just as many moves or more to get under the 2024 cap. So let's not even. That's a problem for future me and future Joe Shane. The other one was interesting because they just made this deal, but they could, I guess, restructure Daniel Jones' contract. It's one of those things where like I think they were rushing to get him signed, and like the general numbers were kind of agreed to. Like, this is what we're aiming for, and if you can get to that, great. And they got it in right before the deadline so they could then franchise tag Saquon Barkley. But now, and it feels weird since they just signed the contract, but they could restructure the contract already. So that also seems likely, and maybe more likely than restructuring Williams or Leo or Adoree. So there are options, and we hopefully we won't need that whatever $10 million in space to replace all these dudes on injured reserve. Let's not, hey, let's not have 15 to 20 dudes on injured reserve. How does that sound? Sounds like a plan. And then finally, we'll look at the NFL over and under win totals for 2023 and the best bets and picks for all 32 teams. This is again for the Athletic. I'm not going to go through all 32 teams. I thought it would be kind of cool, maybe not, to look at the Giants' 2023 opponents and go through the over under wins for each of our opponents. We'll start in the AFC East with the Jets, our Brohams, that we share stadium with. The line currently, or maybe not currently, but as of this week, 9.5 over under total wins. And my main man here, who I didn't get his friggin' name, but I'm gonna get it right now because I believe we give credit to where credit is due. Vic Taffer of the Athletic. Sure, why not? So the line's at 9.5. He's got them at under 9.5, which is at plus 110. And his reasoning is that the AFC East is one of the toughest divisions in football, but they also have the AFC West slate this year and the NFC East. In the first 7 of the games of the season, while Rodgers might still be getting acclimated to things, are Bills, Cowboys, Patriots, Chiefs, Broncos, Eagles, and Giants. And while you might say, all right, well, Patriots and Broncos, those are wins. Patriots are plucky. And who knows what the Broncos have in store now that Sean Payton's at the helm. So they could, would you be shocked if they go 0-6? Yeah, I guess you would be a little shocked. But do we see them at 4-3? Probably not. Next up is the Dolphins. The line is at 9.5, just like the Jets, which is interesting. And our man Vic has them at over 9.5, which is at plus 105. He cites that the addition of defensive coordinator Vic Fangio is a big one, and he believes that the Dolphins are going to win the AFC East. Stranger things have happened, okay? I guess a lot of people are projecting the Bills to take a step back. The Pats are not the Pats of old, and the Jets are kind of, who knows where we're going to get with the Jets? It's like, is this, I keep going back to Brett Favre, but Brett Favre started 8-3 in 2008, and they missed the playoffs somehow, right? So the Dolphins, I guess a lot rides on having Tua healthy, right? Not being thoroughly concussed. They do have Mike White as a backup now, even though they kind of got by and they almost beat the Bills in the playoffs with their third string quarterback. So they could win the AFC East, or they could suffer from the injury bug again and then, lose double digits. But this guy feels pretty strongly about them getting that over 9.5. And okay, I could see that. The Pats, the line's 7.5 wins. And our boy, Mr. Taffer, has them at under 7.5, plus 105, which is kind of weird. But he says that they could very easily be 0-4 after opening against the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and Cowboys. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough slate to start off with. And I know that I think they brought in Nathaniel Hackett possibly to help out Mac Jones, but it's like Mac Jones, pretty decent rookie season and not so great sophomore season. What are you going to get out of him? Lots of young players in the mix. As Belichick lost his touch, although that defense is pretty good. I mean, one of the better units from last year. So it's really all up to the offense to kind of perform and ball out. I could see a lot of close games, but I could also see a lot of heartbreakers for the old Pats. Then the Bills to round out the AFC East. Line is 10.5 wins. And our prognosticator, Mr. Better Extraordinaire, has it under 10.5, which is at plus 110. And the reason is kind of bonkers. Josh Allen has hit his ceiling at age 26. There's visible wear and tear, and they have a tougher schedule. And while I might not completely buy into that reasoning, I do kind of buy into under 10.5. And I can't really pinpoint why, but I don't think that they can replicate what they did last year. Something tells me that they're just going to take a step back. So, yeah, I think I would take Buffalo under 10.5 as well. 10-7, which could win the AFC East, or it could end up in a tie, which they lose a tiebreaker, and then Miami wins the East. I don't know. What a division. Whew. AFC East, that'll be fun to watch this year. Let's move on to the NFC West. We got the Niners, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. Niners, the line is 11.5, which seems like a tall order, but he's got him going over an 11.5 wins, which is plus 115. I don't buy that. He says that it doesn't matter who they start at quarterback, which is just outrageous, because Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel are that good and can easily win matchups. And it's like, McCaffrey played all the games that he was with the Niners last year, but he was not exactly on the field a whole lot with the Panthers. And Deebo got a little banged up towards the end of last season as well. And you kind of do need a quarterback. I think the NFC Championship against the Eagles proved that. And there's now a Brock Purdy rule that was instituted after that game, where it's like you can carry a third quarterback and they can suit up and only play if the first two quarterbacks are knocked out and can't return, which is essentially what happened. Purdy came back in the game because I think Josh Johnson had a concussion, but he couldn't do anything. And he cites a fairly easy opening schedule, which includes the Steelers, Rams, Giants, Cardinals, and Cowboys. I don't know that Cowboys game is exactly an easy win. I wouldn't rule out the Steelers per se. I could see wins over the Rams and Cardinals, and I think the Giants give them more than they bargained for. I'm a little biased, but yeah. Seahawks are up next. The line's 8.5. Vic's got them under. He says that they had a great draft, adding corner Devin Witherspoon and Jackson Smith and Njigba And then already had a receiving core that has DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So it sounds like their offense is pretty good to go. That it might be their young defense that maybe doesn't play up to snuff. And who do you know? And like I said, I don't know what you're going to get out of Geno Smith. Is this really the Geno Smith to expect from last year? Or is it like this that was merely a mirage? Under 8.5, though, he had a pretty glowing kind of thought process behind his reasoning, and then he goes under an 8.5. So that's curious. I mean, 7 and 10 or 8 and 9, which feels right, you know? So I'll buy into that. And then we got those stinky Rams, my most hated team outside of the Eagles and Cowboys. The line is 6.5, and to be honest, I would have smashed the under, but he gave some pretty intriguing reasons as to why they are probably going to go over 6.5. So it might not. Obviously I don't think the playoffs are really a strong consideration for them. They have more than 25 rookies at training camp, and it's like you throw enough rookies at the wall. Some of them got to stick, right? You are getting Stafford back. You get Cooper Kupp back. Aaron Donald's back. Sean McVay's back. But it feels like they've lost their luster a little bit. So it might be a case of where they're in a lot of games, but just don't have the magic they used to have to pull out the wins. And they're playing in an interesting division. I don't know that it's that tough, although they always play each other tough. So I'm still taking the under 6.5. Screw those guys. I hate the Rams, and I only wish ill will upon them. Then we got the Cardinals. The line is 5.5. And it's a bit of a rebuilding phase for the Cardinals, which it feels like they've been rebuilding for 5+ years, maybe more, 10. I don't know. 5.5 wins is the line. He's got him at under 5.5, which is -150. He says the team will likely trade Kyler Murray, which I guess made me gasp a bit and took me aback a bit. And then I was like, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like, he's not really anyone's favorite there. Like, all the people that kind of signed him and made him the guy, they're not there anymore. So, yeah, they're probably going to move on from him. And then he states that they're either going to draft Caleb Williams from USC or Drake May, who is UNC. I don't know. But for right now, the Cardinals slept through the offseason other than drafting a franchise left tackle in Paris Johnson Jr. New general manager Monty Osenfort has a fun year of college tailgating ahead of him. So, yeah, it sounds like they're going to be like, yeah, go out there and give it the old college try, but we're going to actually try college to fix this thing. So that's the NFC West. Like I said, I think we beat the Cardinals and Rams. Those are 2 wins in our pockets. I think we can take care of business against the Seahawks in a close, hard-fought battle at home. And I think San Francisco, we kind of go toe-to-toe. And, maybe it's not, maybe we don't. I think we are keeping it close to a score. I could see us losing by 8 or 10, but not feeling too bad about it. Like, let's just put on a good show. Let's just show the league that we've taken the next step. So if we can take 3 or 4 out of that from the NFC West, that's a big time. And then, the AFC East is like, I'd be happy with 2 and 2. So now we've gone through the divisionals that we're facing. And now we go on to the same place finishers. We got the Packers and Raiders. The Packers, the line is 7.5. And I guess I was a little too down on the Packers. And I didn't realize the impact that Aaron Rodgers' departure, the positive impact of his departure might have on the team. So the line 7.5, he's got him at over 7.5. And he says that it's a friendlier NFC North. The Bears are kind of still in rebuild mode. The Lions are looking good, though. And maybe the Vikings are on the downswing. So there is an opportunity there to maybe at least be in the hunt graphic, which is all we ask for. That hunt graphic, the hunt graphic is just so beautiful to see once you get to December. And then they face the lowly NFC South, which I think, we've talked about this before, where it's like The Bucks are not the Bucks without Tom Brady. And the Panthers, though they showed a lot of gumption, I don't know if that's the word, a lot of resolve after losing McCaffrey and Baker Mayfield and somehow still coming out with wins and fighting hard. So then you have the Falcons, who are the Falcons. They're still trying to figure things out. So I think the Saints are probably the front runner in the NFC South and could probably come away with that division. Where are the Saints? Oh yeah, the Saints and the Packers and the Raiders. So yeah, but we're talking about the Packers. They have 2 very good running backs. They have all the receivers that they drafted for Rodgers the past 3 years, and 4 of the Packers' first 5 games are against teams with a losing record, so they could get off to a hot start. And that's why he's got him at over 7.5. And I might be buying into that. And I'm thinking that the game against them could be a lot closer than we think. And it might be one of those games where like we're at half and we're down and we're like, what's going on? And then Wink cranks up in the second half and we figure out the offense and like we pull away. But I could see us like in that first half, like we're just caught off guard and maybe they come out swinging. So the Saints, we're talking about the Saints. They'll probably win the NFC South. The line is 9.5 for them. He's got them at over 9.5, citing the return of Michael Thomas. Derek Carr now has Thomas and Chris Olave to go with Alvin Kamara, and then a good offensive line. And then you got Cameron Jordan, Tyrann Mathieu on the defensive side of the ball. That defense was so good last year and probably will be good again this year. And they could very easily start 4-0. So I would take over 9.5. I think I got them winning the division there, right? Right. And I think I have us losing to them in New Orleans, which pains me because I think like I don't like Carr necessarily scares me, but it's all the weapons he has and then the defense as well. Although the last time we were in New Orleans, we came back from, 10 points or more and won. That was the 2021 Giants. I thought that game that we won in New Orleans with the 2021 Giants was Kenny Golladay kind of showed up for once. Saquon looked good. We had Kadarius Toney kind of balling and wilding out. It just I was like, okay, we could do this, and then we just fell apart after that game. So next up, same place finisher in the AFC West is the Raiders. The line 7.5. He has them at under 7.5. The roster is worse than it was last year, he says. And I agree. I do think they might be fun to watch. I think the Raiders are always kind of fun to watch, right? It seems like anytime they're on a primetime game, they're usually playing an AFC West foe, and it's usually fun and close. So I think they'll be entertaining. But yeah, I could see them 7-10 for sure. And then we'll get to our division, the NFC East, home sweet home. The Eagles, the line's 10.5, and he's got them at over. It's a -150. And it's hard to really say that I could see them going 10-7 or worse. Would love it. I think if they are at 10-7, that means that we've got a fighting chance to either win the division, threaten to win the division. I was so high going into this offseason thinking like, oh, the Eagles are screwed, dude. Look at their salary cap. They don't have no salary cap. They're going to have so many guys leaving in free agency. There's no way they're going to keep all these guys. How are they going to pull it off? There's no way. And then they pull it off. The guys they lose, they replace. And then they have a pretty kick-ass draft. They drafted all of Georgia. The Georgia Bulldogs. The Philadelphia Eagles are now the Georgia Bulldogs. The Philadelphia Bulldogs. They'll play in Athens this year. And the favorites to win the SEC. So, yeah, hard to see them losing more than seven games or more. I'd have to take a closer look at their schedule, but it's just like it would have to take pretty significant injuries to that roster, which never seems to happen to them. Always seems to happen to us. So then next up we have the Cowboys. The line is 9.5, which feels low, right? I don't know. That defense, a new approach on offense where they're going to run the damn ball more, I guess. So unless I could see, I'd be tempted to take the under there because I don't know that Dak's going to really take that next step that everyone thinks he's going to take. You get rid of Ezekiel Elliott. You have Tony Pollard now. You lost Dalton Schultz, but you drafted a tight end. I could see them maybe getting off to a hot start and then crumbling down the stretch. Kind of similar to what happened last year where like they lose Dak, but then their backup, Cooper Rush, is able to ride the defense to wins. So it would have to take something pretty bad happening on the defensive side of the ball for them to lose, 8 or more games. But they're not, like he said in his write-up, like they can make the playoffs, but they're not getting past the Niners or the Eagles or a lot of the top seeds. So 9-8. If you believe it, it will happen. And then the Commanders, the line is 7.5 wins. And our boy has them taking the under on that, which is kind of a bold move. I guess 7-10 isn't that crazy. It's minus 150 to take the under. And, the big question mark is on the offensive side of the ball, right? I mean, you have pretty great weapons in Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson. They have a couple other wide receivers that are pretty decent, but it's the defense that really picks it up a notch, is going to win them games. I mean, Montez Sweat, Darren Payne, Jonathan Allen, Chase Young is just like outrageous front four. And so they won 8 games last year. They were 7-9, 7-10 the previous 2 years before that. So that's like the trickiest bet. That's a bet I would probably stay away from. I don't feel comfortable with that bet at all, either way. So good news is I don't see them doing much over 7.5. Like if it is over 7.5, I see them as like 8-9, 9-8. I can't see them as a 10-win team, especially with Sam Howell as their quarterback. Call me crazy. And then we have our beloved Los Gigantes de Nueva York. The line, 8.5. And this a-hole has them under 8.5. And I think a lot of people have us at 8 and 9. I'm here to tell you, erroneous on all counts. This is fiction, folks. I refuse to subscribe to this theory that we're going to go 8 and 9. And yet again, he points to the schedule. 7 road games in our first 11 weeks, 3 and 11 days to open the season, and then 3 consecutive road games at Vegas, Dallas, and Washington to end that stretch. And I'm telling you, let's get that crap out of the way in the first half of the season. I am all for digging ourselves a hole and then emerging, rising like a phoenix in November and December, coming out of the bye and going on a tear. You don't want to look ahead. You want to play the opponent you're playing this week. And you also have to look at it as like they have to play us. And look at the teams that thought they could walk, they could just like walk all over us. I think the Ravens came into the East Rutherford. They got up, thought they were going to win, lost. I think the Packers, despite having not a glorious record, I think they were like 2-2, 3-2 heading into that London game, probably thought they were going to win that game. And we pull out the dub. So I this whole tough schedule, and then he made a comment about like teammates will be questioning why Daniel Jones got the big contract. Newsflash, bro. I would be shocked if more than 10% of that clubhouse thinks that he doesn't deserve it. I'd be shocked. Just from what I've seen, what I've heard, there's no like rumors or leaks about like, whispers and grumblings about the contract. I don't know. I haven't really seen it. I don't think you're going to see it. I think a lot of people believe in this dude. I saw a tweet. I forget who it was from. I don't know if it was Chuck Knox or Tommy Takes or whatever his name is. But this guy has been underdog. I mean, I fucking love underdogs, dude. I don't know if I've made that clear throughout my time here on the airwaves, but I love underdogs. And this guy is literally dodgeball, a true underdog story. I'm telling you, was not recruited out of high school. I think he was recruited by Princeton. I tried to get recruited by Princeton. It was a no-go. And ended up walking on to Duke, I believe. wasn't given a scholarship, drafted 6th overall. People have been counting this dude out his entire life. And all he's done is set records, broken records, done things that other quarterbacks haven't done, especially in the playoffs. I believe in Daniel Jones. And sure, my Eagles fan friend likes to rub it in my face that I, quote unquote, cried on draft night in 2019 when we took him 6th overall and not Dwayne Haskins. Hey, listen, we all have our misfires. No one's 100% perfect. But what I saw pretty much every day from him since then has made me a believer. Like from his first start in Tampa in 2019 to some gutsy performances in 2020 and 2021. Yes, the turnovers were maddening. Not gonna lie. And there were times where you question it or you doubt it, but I was never completely out on Daniel Jones. Other than I did snap at him in the Tennessee game, the opener of 2022, where it's like, dude, you cannot throw an interception when we're knocking on the door, inside the 10. Cannot happen. Ask Josh Allen about that. So to say that Daniel Jones won't be worth the contract is as outrageous. I mean, we just don't get to the playoffs without him last year. We don't. And yes, Saquon Barkley was a huge contributor and factor in that. The two of them, that's a great duo. And we didn't really get to see a ton of that over the course of the years, at least with an adequate offensive line. I mean, you look at the offensive line they had to deal with in all three of those years, 19, 20, 21. And it was like, ugh. And not to say that the 2022 line was that much better, but it was at least enough. Combine them, their skill set with Kafka's play calling, and you can see the results. So, yeah, we're not playing the AFC South this year. Kind of sucks. It's a bummer. But I still think, the AFC East will be tough. I think we can go 2-2 there. I think we go 3-1 against the NFC West. What are we looking at there? 2, 3, so 5, and 2, 1 is 3. 5-3 against our two divisions. And then who you get the same place finishers? Raiders, Packers, and Saints. You can go 2-1 right there. So now we're looking at 7-4. And this is where it comes down to an area that we did not excel in last year, and that's divisional play. We stunk against our division last year. Kind of weird that we were so good with Joe Judge against the division and horrible against everyone else. And then we're not quite handling our biz in the division with Brian Daboll. But I think we can sweep the Commanders. So that's another 2 wins. So that gets us to 9 right there. I mean, you think I'm out of control and out of pocket saying that we can't sweep the Commanders, 2 wins. Win against the Raiders in Vegas, 3 wins. Beat the Packers at home, 4 wins. Beat the Cardinals in Arizona, 5 wins. Beat the Rams at home, 6 wins. Beat the Seahawks at home, 7 wins. Beat the Patriots and Jets, 8-9. And that's just out of division. I mean, that's without, the Eagles and Cowboys, which I believe we could. I believe we could split with them this year. I know I say that every year, but I really do think we can split with them this year. So I don't know. I just don't see us taking that big a step back. And I guess it's not that big a step back to go from 9-7-1 to 8-9. I don't know that 8-9 is going to get us a playoff spot. And if we miss the playoffs, yes, that will feel like a step back. And aren't we a better team on paper this year? And if we could just avoid the frickin' injuries, which have been our bugaboo for so goddamn long. We missed Neal and Thibodeau for a bunch of games last year. Adoree Jackson for a bunch of games. Leonard Williams for a bunch of games. Can the guys just stay healthy and not miss more than 3 games? Because I think once you get into missing more than 3 games, that's when it's like, I don't know that you have the kind of supporting cast to make up for that. But yet again, I think we shored up our depth on both sides of the ball. And I don't know that we're done yet. I didn't even include the article about some free agent fits. Apparently, there's still a thought that we can make one more free agent move given our salary cap position. And I think the move is guard Dalton Risner. I don't know if he's signed yet since the article came out, but that seems like a pretty quality signing that I'm in for. He's 27. He's played for the Broncos. The Broncos made a move to get a guard, so I wouldn't hate bringing him in and signing him to compete at guard, because guard has been a major issue for us. He's Mr. Consistent. He's started 16 games in 2019, 16 games in 2020. He missed, looks like he made 15 starts in 21 and 15 starts in 22. That's about as consistent as you get. And his AV was pretty much the same every year, 6.665. I love it. I just don't think it's going to happen given the cap space. I mean, they were talking about, Yannick Ngakoue and was it Frank Houston and a lot of like edge rushers where it's like, yeah, sure. I guess if you got to pick one, is it worth it though? Let me work it, put my thing down, flip it and reverse it, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, do we really want to spend 10 mil or more on a guy that's really only valuable to us on third down passing situations? Sacks are huge. But I would think I would prefer a guard. How confident, dude, how much more confident in this offense are you knowing that we have John Michael Schmitz at center, automatic day one starter, upgrade from Feliciano, Glowinski, okay, whatever, Risner at left guard, Neal at right tackle in year 2, Thomas all pro, and then you have Brederson, Azudu backing up in the wings. I really like that offensive line. Just got to stay healthy. To the fact that we went 9-7-1 with the receiving core we had last year is an incredible feat that I don't know if it gets enough press and media coverage. So the fact that if we can get Wandale and to stay healthy and be on the field, Jalen Hyatt, Waller, Belly, Hodgins. If we could just keep everyone as healthy as possible. Guys are going to miss games here and there. I get it. Fine with me. Let's just not make it a huge habit, and let's not miss more than 3 games each. That's all I ask. So with that, that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next episode. Adios, muchachos.